Hey, glad you made it. My name is Damian, and I'm the Senior PR Manager for the Chinese market here at 11-Bit Studios. My main responsibility is to make sure that the information about our games and products makes it right across the Great Wall, straight into the hands of Chinese players. And my main job today is to make sure that you can do the same, so that you can use the insight that you're going to receive to promote your games in China using Chinese social media. The first thing that comes to mind when you think about social media in China is the fact that it's completely different from the West. If you think about it, while Chinese people know about Facebook, YouTube, they've heard about them definitely, they don't use them on a daily basis. And there are people, I suppose, that never heard them in the first place. So you need to learn about the local Chinese social media and use them to your advantage. So the first thing, Chinese social media landscape is completely fragmented. Sure, everybody uses WeChat and everybody uses Weibo, but that doesn't mean that there's only two social media in China. You have a multitude of different platforms that you can use, platforms used for different purposes, catering to the specific needs of users. And if you're selling games, there are platforms that are best suited for you that you can use to promote your games in China. Second, uh, if you think about those different platforms and about the Chinese users, mostly they use mobile. In China, mobile is king. That means that most of the players, most of the users of those platforms will be viewing your content on their phones. In China, you have almost 900 million internet users, and 99% of them use their phones to surf the internet. One third of the time they spend on the internet is spent on social media. And the last thing about social media in China is that uh, the apps in China, the social media in China, are not just social media. They have many different usages. They have many different mini apps inside of them. You can use them for a multitude of purpose. The best example being WeChat. I use it myself. I've been living in China for quite a few years, and quite frankly, I cannot imagine my day without WeChat. You can call a taxi through WeChat. You can rent a hotel. You can buy furniture and groceries for your home. You can talk to friends. You can play games. You can do everything pretty much. And as much as WeChat is pretty specific, there are different apps that you learn about today that are pretty much the same. So it's not just one social media, it's a whole multitude of different things that it can do for you. So let's take a look at the five most important social media platforms in China. Even though there are dozens of them, and if you look at them, basically each of the platforms has hundreds of millions of users, which sounds pretty awesome to us, and at the same time, it's actually a niche in China. But we're going to focus on the five that are most important from the perspective of video games. So the first one is WeChat, of course. Just as mentioned, WeChat can do everything. It's the app that runs your life pretty much. Right now, WeChat has already over 1.1 billion users across the globe, most of them in China, obviously. Chances are you've never heard of it. But the users in China, they use WeChat every day. Basically, it seems that according to the data that I was able to find, a regular person checks WeChat 10 times a day. And on the one hand, they of course write text messages to each other or voice messages. It is a communicating platform. But on the other hand, you can use it to promote, for example, a product. In our respect, it's a game. To promote ideas, etc., etc. So you can share articles on WeChat. You can have HTML5 websites attached to WeChat. You can have mini apps, which, for example, sell your products and stuff like that. So many different things that you can do. Another interesting thing is the mini app, the mini app option on WeChat, because on the one hand, of course, it is those apps that help you, for example, call a taxi or buy stuff. But on the other hand, those are also games, so-called mini games. And mini games are usually free, but the point of them is that they generate huge revenue through advertisements. For example, there was this game called Jump, uh, and everybody played pretty much on WeChat. There was a time where all the users were competing in the best scores. It cost millions of dollars to have a 24-hour advertisement in that game. So it's also a great way to monetize on your products. So that's the first one, WeChat. The second one is Weibo. Weibo has hundreds of millions of users across China. Maybe not as much as WeChat, of course, but still it is a very important platform. It was more popular in the previous years, but it's still very, very crucial to promote your games. It's often compared to Twitter, though it's not 100% the same. First of all, Weibo allows you to have longer messages, longer tweets, so to say. It's up to 2,000 characters, actually. Though, of course, if you go over 150 characters, Chinese characters, which is slightly different than words in English, if you go beyond 150 characters, then it's going to be a long post. And if you go beyond a certain number, then it's going to be an article, which is going to be less likely to be read by the users. Because, of course, if you go 2,000 characters, then most people won't check this article out on their phones. But still, it gives you a chance to write more about the stuff you want to write about. So Weibo is basically an app, kind of Twitter-like, to share information, to share content with pretty much everybody. And it's especially important if you want to use Weibo, you might want to make use of it to promote your game in China, to work with KOLs, so key opinion leaders. If it doesn't take much to notice that a tweet or a Weibo message, a Weibo post on your website won't get much views if it's just you, but if it's shared by a key opinion leader, then obviously it's going to get like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views overnight. So that's pretty much what Weibo is about. You have many different gaming websites, many different companies that have Weibo accounts. And it's kind of like, just like in the Western world, you have to have a Facebook account, you have to have a Twitter account for your game, for your studio. And it's pretty much the same with Weibo. You don't have to have an account on WeChat, but you do have to have one on Weibo. And it's good to have it authorized, to have like the blue V mark next to your name to prove that it is a certified account of that company, which takes a while to get, especially for foreign companies, because you need to provide certain documents and stuff like that. But it does help the credibility of your social media profile. So that's Weibo. The third one is something you might actually know. So it's TikTok, but not TikTok. It's kind of strange when you hear it, but that's the way it works. In China, you have TikTok. It's called Douyin, and it's actually made and run by the same company. Point is, it's a completely different app. The international version of TikTok and the Chinese version called Douyin are completely separate applications. So the content that you post on TikTok and the international version doesn't really make it to the Chinese version. So if you want to promote your games on TikTok, then it definitely is a good idea, because as you know, there are hundreds of millions of users checking out TikTok every day. But if you want to make it to their hands, then you need to have an account on the Chinese version of the platform. So short videos, usually 15 seconds, though you can of course have a longer version available for the viewers to view. But definitely make it short, make it interesting, and you can reach out to your players. Number 4 might be a bit old, but it's still very important. It's called Youku. Youku is the Chinese equivalent of YouTube. And even though it's not as popular as it used to be in the past, with new platforms coming here and there, it's still very important to have an account on Youku because many websites and many different platforms, different social media, do not allow you to directly post videos through those media. So if you want to post something, then you have to have a Youku account or Tencent Videos account, actually, depending on the platform you're using, to first add the video and then embed it in the message you want to send. So even though it might not be as popular among gamers, even though it's not directly directly transferable to viewers, it is crucial for you to have an account on Youku. And the last one, number 5, is Bilibili. And Bilibili is pretty important. That's pretty much the haven of the gaming community. Bilibili is also a video streaming platform, just like Youku, similarly to YouTube. Though Bilibili is especially popular among people who like anime, manga, cartoons, and games. And basically, if you want to promote your games in China, Bilibili is one of the best ways to go. It's focused on videos, obviously, but they do have this special feature that is extremely popular among Chinese viewers, and that is the bullet comments. The bullet comments are comments that appear on the screen while we are watching a video. It gives the Chinese people, the viewers, a sense of being together, a sense of watching the video together with friends that can comment, and their comment appears over the screen, which makes them feel like, a sort of community. And Bilibili is especially important because the age range of viewers, of users of that platform is from 18 to 35. Mostly, it's like 70% of all the users. So basically, those are people who are going to be your consumers. Those are people who are going to view your content and buy your games. So those are the 5 most important, like the biggest, generally biggest social media platforms. But as I have mentioned previously, China is all about specialization. It's all about providing the custom experience to its users. So it's important to look at different platforms to reach the players. And there are 3 basic platforms that I'm going to talk about. First, there's Heybox. Heybox is currently the biggest Steam community in China, with over 50 million players registered on the platform and 2 million active users every day. Heybox took over the community features of Steam because though Steam is still available in China and is still accessible to Chinese players, the Steam community features have been all blocked. So the players in China do not have access to them. They can buy games and play them, download the games and stuff like that, but they can't really discuss them unless they have a VPN. So Heybox kind of fills in for that blank, and Chinese players gather in the platform to discuss new games, to read articles about games. But as I have mentioned previously as well, the Chinese social apps are not just about the community. They are also about different features and different services that they can provide. So if you think about Heybox, it's not just that they gather the Steam players. Actually, each registered user can connect their Steam account and their Heybox account together so that they can add games to their wishlist directly into Steam. They can follow games and they can buy games through the platform. And from the perspective of us, so the people who are trying to promote our products, it's an extremely, extremely important tool because we can gather a lot of information through the different features of Heybox. If you check your game on Heybox, usually all the games that make it to Steam have a Heybox page in the app. You can check how many players from the platform are playing your game currently, how many have bought the game. They can add reviews, they can write information for other players. So basically, it's like a Chinese localization of Steam into an app form. So that's the first one. But of course, gaming is not just about Steam. So there are different platforms that you would mention if you think about different gaming platforms. The second one is TapTap. TapTap has a lot of users. I'm not 100% sure about the number right now. I do remember that in 2018 it was 60 million registered users, and the number have gone up recently by a lot, definitely, though the precise information isn't available anymore. But we do know that they have 5 million daily active users, which is quite a lot if you think about it. And what is TapTap all about? Well, TapTap is about mobile games, both free to play and premium games that you can buy directly from the platform. If you install the app on your phone, on your smartphone, then you can check all the games that you have installed on your phone. You can view them, you can access forums, message boards to talk to other players about the game, to learn about the updates, etc., etc. And of course, the platform itself does promote the games that they find fit. The difference between Heybox and TapTap, apart from the platform itself, is of course the fact that games distributed through TapTap are those games that have to go through the official distribution channels in China. So all of those games have to get an ISBN number in order to be distributed through the app. And the third one is Jump. That's the name. Jump is a app dedicated mostly to Switch games. It's maybe not as popular as the other platforms because it's just in Chinese terms, maybe just, but in our terms, it is still quite a lot. 2.5 million registered users with 200,000 daily active users on the app. And even though it might sound like not a lot to a Chinese person, for us it is quite an important app and quite an important market, because not only does the app support support the players with providing news and information about games, but it also is a marketplace. So you can open the app, buy a game, buy a Switch card game. You can buy secondhand games and gear, merchandise. So there's a lot of things that you can buy directly from the app. Also, Jump is the organizer of their own event. It's called Jump High. It's organized in Wuhan in October. So not only do they have this online community, but they also focus on the offline community and offline events that they can use to promote the games. So all of those platforms, whether it's Heybox, TapTap, or Jump, or any other for that matter, because those are not the only ones in China, they provide much more to the players, much more to their users than just information, than just news about the games. They are a marketplace, they are a community, and they are a place that you can build your community around. Because, for example, on Heybox, you can register an official account, just like we did. We have, like 11-bit studios that have an official account on Heybox, and we're using it to post news about our games. So you can gather your community around those apps. And of course, if you look at those are also different communities. The community on Heybox is definitely younger. Most of the users are 18 to 25. The users, for example, around Bilibili, as I have mentioned before, are 18 to 35. So among players they also feel like those are different communities. I did hear from different gamers that the community on Bilibili, for example, is more mature, is more dedicated, more loyal to uh, the brand that they're supporting, while the community on Haybox is um, a bit more, how to put it, well, a, yeah, a bit younger, definitely, and maybe a bit more hot-headed, especially when it comes down to different issues that a company might encounter that we're going to talk in a second about. So there you have it. A short overview of Chinese social media with a specific information about gaming social media apps. But knowing about them and using them are two different things. Basically, it's okay if you have an account. You should have an account, of course. It's great if you post information, but it's not just that you post, it's about what you post. Because if you think about the Chinese audiences, they expect something different than viewers in the Western world, than viewers in Europe and America, etc., etc. So there are things that you need to have in mind if you want to create an interesting and thrilling communication with your viewers. First of all, you need to use Chinese. Nobody's going to read English. Generally speaking, Chinese people are not good at English. They spend a lot of time studying it, just not using it. So if you post information in English, be it videos or posts or infographics, nobody's going to be able to understand them. Maybe just a bunch of people if you use English. So you need to localize them into Chinese, simplified Chinese, just to make sure. But point is that it's localization, it's not translation. So localization involves like making sure that the content you provide is best suited for the local market. That means that not only do you have to translate the text, but you need to make sure that all the information provided and all the links and everything that you use are available to the people that are going to see it. So, for example, if you post information about an event that's happening on Facebook, then nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to open that link. Nobody's going to be able to take part in it. Same goes for YouTube, Twitter. So you need to make sure that everything that you post is available to the Chinese community. Even if it's your own website, if your website uses Google CAPTCHA, then they're not going to be able to view it because they are not going to be able to load any information from Google servers. Even if it's information that or assets that you post on your servers, if those are Google servers, then they are not going to be able to open them. So you need to make sure that everything works in China locally. So that's the first thing. Another thing is that Chinese aesthetics are different. So what we find nice and beautiful, attractive in the Western world might not be as interesting to the Chinese viewers. Generally speaking, they like cutesy information. So, for example, fonts that you use and stuff like that are going to be like, kind of bubbly or stuff like that. It's a different aesthetics than the one that we're used to. You might think of it kind of as kitsch, but that's just the way they like it. And of course, you have to have in mind that all the content is going to be viewed on mobile. So if you're preparing a video and you are adding Chinese subtitles, then you need to make sure that those subtitles are visible for the Chinese who are going to view it on their mobile phones. If you make it too small, if it's like the size that you would use on a computer screen for English, then it's not going to work. First of all, Chinese characters are more complicated than our alphabet. So in order to view them clearly, they need to be a bit bigger. And second, if it's viewed on a mobile phone while going to work on the subway, then obviously if it's too small, nobody's going to be able to read it. Another thing that you need to consider is the information that you provide. Um, you need to know that Chinese players play games for entertainment. Uh, they aren't really that much interested in deep gameplay. Mostly it's just for fun. So the information that you provide is supposed to tell them why it's going to be entertaining to play your game. Also, most Chinese gamers don't have very good PCs or gaming laptops or stuff like that. So if the information that you want to provide is that your game is going to be 4K and support anti-aliasing or stuff like that, nobody's going to be really interested in that, because if they have video cards from the previous generation, they are not going to use those features anyway. They are not going to have a 4K monitor, except for a few people. So best focus on the gameplay features and what makes your game unique, what makes it different from all the games on the market, rather than focusing on technical issues that nobody's going to make use of. Another thing is you need to connect to your community, uh, which means that you need to remember what is important to that community. That means that, first of all, you need to avoid certain topics. Don't go into politics, don't go into stuff like that, because those are issues that we don't really understand well as Westerners. We are not experts on that region, so better leave those aside. Uh, and on the other hand, do remember about the things that Chinese people are fond of. So, for example, if it's the Chinese New Year, the Chinese community is going to be quite happy if you post information, post greetings for the Chinese New Year, a special video with your team saying 新年快乐 and stuff like that. They are going to appreciate the fact that you try to engage with the community and learn about the community and learn about China. That's the best way to win their hearts. So there's a lot of things that you need to learn. It's not easy, and it's best left to professionals. Uh, One thing that you can do is to hire somebody who knows a lot about China, having a Chinese community manager who will be able to provide you with information what the community wants and when to react and how to react to the community's needs is one of the best options you can do. Another one, if that's not viable for you, is to find a Chinese partner. Find a company that can help you, that can guide you and support you on your way to the Chinese market. A company that will help a company that will help you create the content that the Chinese community likes and wants. A company that will be your guide on that market. So those are the things that you can do. We went through the different platforms. We went through things that can make your posts more interesting. We went through some insight as to what to avoid and what to be careful about. So, a lot of things. I hope that's enough for the time being. Maybe not everything that you need to know, but I hope it's going to help you on your way to China, on your way across the Great Wall. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.